Welcome back to the Hot Mess to Awesomeness podcast, a show all about inspiring smart, busy women to put their happiness at the top of their to-do list. Join your host and life coach, Dion Thompson, as she chats with amazing women who have figured out how to make their happiness a priority, and more importantly, what it's really like to go from hot mess to awesomeness. And now, on with the show.
Welcome everybody to the Hot Mess to Awesomeness podcast. This is the break that every busy woman deserves, pre, during, and post whatever we're going through right now. I'm always excited, and I realize that as I, think back on all of these episodes that I feel like I've done so many in the past month, I'm just like, I'm so excited for my next guest. I am so excited, and it's very, very honest, and I am so happy that we have met. And I was thinking back to some of those very early times in like when I first got to know you, and how you had agreed to be the first speaker at Wise Women Say. Right. Oh my goodness, like 2 years ago. And I absolutely, unbelievably, unequivocally enjoy your energy, enjoy everything about you. And when I think about you, I'm like, you know what it is? I don't even have orange oil here in my house. However, when I think of you, I think of that, and then the joy that smell brings me, even though I'm not even smelling it, because you shared that, and I think there was lemon, some other citrus things, and about the grounding components of oils in our first conversation when you were here. And I get this sort of anchor, I guess, that when I think of you, I think of grounding and energy and just being. And that's really why I'm super excited to have you here today, because I think that type of energy is needed more than ever. And it's definitely something that I want to put my attention on, about how to stay focused and grounded and energized on what matters to me. And that's what I want for everybody. So, Nancy, welcome.
Dion, it's a thrill. Thanks so much for inviting me to be part of this. One of my strategies is cultivating communities, and knowing that I can join you in what you're growing right now and responding and being so present. I'm thrilled to be part of this. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. So perhaps take us a moment to walk us through sort of where and who you are in this moment. I know that you, I don't want to label you, but multi-potentialite. So when I see you, I think of all of the different sort of roles that I've seen you in. And a beautiful thing is that in my mind, you're always Nancy, just teacher and, energy worker and. So walk us through a little bit about you and sort of what brought you here today, to this space, to this podcast, to this moment.
Absolutely. Gianna, thanks for that. I really, all those roles, I appreciate that you started with "You're always Nancy," because that's what happened. I got to a moment, and it was about 6-7 years ago, where I sort of turned my perspective from all those things that I do and turned around and had a good look at who is Nancy. And in looking at that central person, so what I recognized then and what I've experienced and what I hope to encourage people to do is to do that, look back on who you are and really get self-aware. Mm-hmm. That piece where the piece that has been my experience that has shifted so many pieces for me beautifully. Sort of like, when the labyrinth puzzle, like all the pieces are out and then something shifts and they all go, yeah, that's what it's like. Like all those pieces out there are awesome and engaging and energizing and satisfying and contributing. But what's that core? And why do I reach out and be a teacher? Why did I, follow that connection to the earth and move towards essential oils? Why do I love moving well in yoga? Why am I a mom? Why am I a partner? Why am I a friend? All those pieces. When I come back to that core and I work on that self-awareness and I go, oh, okay, that's why I do that. All right. And then the layering of how much I appreciate and enjoy them and invest in the problem solving, it all makes a bit more sense because I understand that core. Right. That's been my experience, is getting self-aware and realizing that there are a couple of things that I do in my strategies that I do them well enough to share them with people, because my experience has been evidence-based, and when I can share that with other people, then maybe they can have that beautiful bonus in their life too.
Yeah. So I love that I love the self-awareness that is definitely at the core of so many of the conversations that we've been having about that. That is one of the initial components that allows you then to do the work to make the labyrinth all come together. I love that analogy. What would you say was the impetus? Like, obviously that is sort of the now Nancy and the moving forward Nancy. Prior to that, there was a whole other thing. What was that moment or series of moments that got you to go, yeah, okay, I can't keep doing this anymore?
That moment. That was not. I've learned from one of my beautiful oils educators, something she said, probably in passing, that has stayed with me, and is that when you experience in a moment or an emotion, a reaction, physiologically it tends to stay with us from 30 seconds up to about 2 minutes. Beyond that, we're not designed to hold on to that memory, maybe to learn from it, to react to it. Like, we have very clever ingrained habits, but that to live life well is to not set up camp in that emotion. So be there, do those 30 seconds to 2 minutes, be a part of it, take from it what it's offering you, don't set up camp, move forward. And I think that's what that moment was. And I will bring you all the way through it. But that moment of, holy crap, this is big. I loved, in my notes, I have what you sent to me about women going through like hot mess madness, like something, and all the shiz that developed from it. And I'll come back to that. But like I had that moment. And for the emotional piece, it's taken me about 3 years to dismantle the camp in that emotion. And there's still a bit of junk left over, and there's always cleanup to do, but I don't live there anymore. So for our viewers, and I say that Deanna and I have had this great discussion before, and do know that I share this out of my own centeredness. And if this is a sharing that shifts you a little bit, be okay with that. Again, stay with it for 30 seconds to 2 minutes, and then do let it go. Each of us have our own story, and it creates a filter for us, but this is mine. So I wrote it so that I can just read it clearly. Oh, and of course I'm not finding it. It's okay. So when I was 5 years old, a pedophile decided that it was okay to use my body to fulfill his needs. And that was a long time ago, and that was 5. But that moment created a whole shitload of shoulds for me. And I appreciate your language on that, Dion, because it put me into that, oh yeah, this is, yeah. I had one of those moments of, who am I, and why do all these pieces happen in my life? There are certainly struggles and frustrations. But yeah, that long-lasting list of should. I should be helpful. I should be compliant. I should be optimistic. I shouldn't have my own feelings. I shouldn't have my own needs. I shouldn't have my own reactions. I should anticipate the needs of others and respond before I respond to me. And all of that has created this great big, like, marquee should that other people value me for what I do for them, not necessarily for who I am. And that was that huge, like, when I learned to articulate that, it was about 2.5 years ago. And I had a moment where someone talked about hope, and all of this came together for me. And I was like, I don't want to live here. Like, this does not no, this is not working for me anymore. And I'm ready to break up camp. And I'm 42. I will be 42 this year. No, I'll be 44 this year. Whoops. So we're looking at like 39 years later, 30 years later, 35 years later or so is when I started to be ready to break up that camp. And I've lived life. I feel like I'm a successful person. I have a great career. I have a beautiful family. I have people that I love deeply and people to laugh and dance with. Those are some markers of a pretty good life to me. And I was carrying this camp around with me that I had to move through in each of those experiences. So talk about turning those shoulds into coulds. I don't have a tattoo, but I think that's one that belongs somewhere embedded in me. It's turning all those shoulds into coulds is the path that I'm living now. And out of that, that's where I brought in the tools of using essential oils, of practicing yoga, and now being a certified teacher to share yoga. It's out of my experience unpacking that camp and letting that go, and finding ways to move towards all those other pieces of my life that I love and cherish and appreciate, without having to go through the camp. Go through the sunny spots instead.
Thank you for sharing that, and your willingness to be honest, and I take notes, and a lot of that really resonated with me. And I think what I saw in my mind when you said it was that you have created this beautiful life. You have people that you care about, that care about you. You dance and you laugh and you do, and you succeed in multiple areas. I say we because I think everybody is carrying around a certain camp in certain ways, but you had to move through the camp to get to those things. Like it's adding this layer of difficulty and darkness in order to get to the light. And it's interesting for me because what that made me think of was a limiting belief that I have long held, and I find I run into with all of my clients, is it has to be hard to be valuable, to be worthy, and to be something that I deserve.
Yeah.
And anything that comes easily is negatable, if that is a word, is something that you can just discount as of no importance. So when it's easy to be good at something, it becomes this thing that nobody's allowed to acknowledge because it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard for me to, write this thing or do this thing or dance that. It doesn't matter, whatever the thing is. When we have the habit of carrying around that camp, that luggage, that junk, and putting it in front of everything just to make it hard. Right?
Yeah.
Because I think too, it almost goes hand in hand that you hold this belief, and maybe it's chicken or the egg. Does the belief come first, or does the camp come first? But we carry these things around, and then once we are willing to let go and go, it's okay for it to be easy, to be happy. And then I love I don't live there anymore. There might be junk in there. There's always cleaning to do. That just seems like an interesting analogy for women. I think at this time, there's always cleaning to do, and I'll get to it when I get to it, which I think is a different perspective. That it's something I don't, we do the work we have to do so that we can find a lit path that it isn't. We don't have to go through the darkness every single time. I can appreciate that for many of us, we do need to go through elements of the dark in order to find the light, but that doesn't have to be the path every time. So thank you for that, and for creating that image, that visual in my mind. And it's a great sort of anchor to carry forward, and a great reflective point to be able to ask ourselves, am I choosing to set up camp here? Or have I jumped into the camp thinking I have to be here, I have to make it hard first? Or could it just be easy? Could I just be happy with whatever?
Brilliant. I know. I'm going to play back a few times because you did that really well.
Thanks. It was easy. No.
No.
Sorry. I'm always interested in the tools that we each gravitate to, the people, the resources, the systems, the whatever, the things that we each gravitate to at different points in our lives. And, I'm a big advocate that everything happens as soon as it can. We just have to be patient. So, I was introduced to yoga 25 years ago, and I get the value of yoga, but my relationship with it has grown as I have grown. And so the tool itself it evolved with me, even though it's always been the same. Yoga is what it is, but my relationship has changed. So I'm always interested in the relationships that you've built with the tools and the anchors that you use to keep yourself moving towards whole Nancy, just being all Nancy.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I look at selecting my tools, I'm working with this matrix that I have in my mind. And the 4 columns on the matrix are all of the dimensions of who we are. So our body, our mind, our heart, so our reaction to life, not just, love and gush emotions, and our soul, so our purpose of being. So that's the 4 columns on my matrix. And then I had the 6 rows are the elements of wellness, the different ways that we can impact ourselves. And this is what I've learned. And then I can take you through where I'm at with those tools right now. So the 6 rows are to eat well, to move well, to rest well, to reduce the toxins in your life, to to develop self-awareness, and to participate proactively with your medical support, so your professionals. And in those 6 elements of wellness, I see them in each of the 4 dimensions of who we are. So in our physical dimension, absolutely, like am I choosing whole foods? All of those questions we have around food, for sure. But then I also see it in our mental capacity, in our mind, the workings of the mind. Are we giving ourselves the opportunities to think in mind tracks that are supportive to our health and well-being, to open up our optimism or our awareness. I also see it in the emotional space. So in the interactions that we're having, are we steering ourselves towards emotional experiences where we are taking in, or we're eating well of the exchanges that we have with other people and experiences? And then in the soul perspective, and the big idea of who we are, like our connection with all of the remarkable miracle of creation. Are we participating in a way that what we take in is helping to nourish us? And I do that with each of the elements. I can see them across the 4 dimensions of who we are. And those are the ways that I look to serve myself well. So if I recognize that maybe I'm not resting well, we'll go across that row. If I'm not resting well, I can look at my physical, am I getting enough exercise in the day and fresh air, and or am I sitting around? Is that where I'm not sleeping? Is there a physical dimension to it? Is there a mental dimension to it? There's an emotional or spiritual dimension to it. And so that's how I look at any scenario. We've gotten into this scenario where we are like 3 steps deep in the cycle of change. And we're experiencing cycle of change all the time. This is huge, like massive changes that we're experiencing. And they were, for the most part, they're imposed on us, and we're choosing how to protect ourselves in our bubble. That's what we call it here at home. We call it our bubble. And we have thresholds. You can go to the grocery store, but right now we're not eating food that other people have made. It's different things like that. But
right.
We're at that point where most of it was imposed on us. And so we didn't go through precognition and realize, there's something going on in the world. Maybe I should do something. And I have conversations with people who had that recognition early. And I'm so grateful for the conversations I have with them, because they helped me when I was ready. But we didn't go through that precognition. We didn't go through, well, I could do this or I could do that. Like all those things happen before we get to, you're not going to work anymore. Who knows about your finances? You're with your kids. You know, what the heck are those teachers doing online? And, you know, even beyond, I mean, those are my dimensions. People have all their own dimensions as well. So getting into that space of change, I needed some backpedaling. I need some backpedaling so I could look at my matrix and go, whoa, what's really being impacted here? And so I found, I mean, we were scheduled to chat together almost 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And think of how different our energy was at that time. I was ramping up. I was like, yeah, like I can do this. I'm a teacher. I got homeschool and I love cooking. And my mom taught me how to make bread. Like I got this. And then I was like, oh, crap. A lot has changed. Hang on, where's my footing?
Yeah.
And then it was hard for a while. And yeah, if we had been scheduled to chat a week ago, it would have been you would have gotten a really different energy from me, because I was pretty low, to be honest with that. And I've been able to recognize that those shoulds, the way you said it in when you and I were messaging, that we're falling back into those sort of unconscious mechanisms that we have.
Yeah.
And actually, your timing of sending that note was really great, because I was like, she's right. And I was able to look at my list of shoulds that I read to you earlier and realize, oh yeah, there's still a couple pieces of housing in the camp. Oh, I recognize those.
Yeah.
And so many pieces of that, like there's grief around those pieces. There's anger around those pieces. I not just need my regular self-care. I've got to bolster it, because I'm having another moment where I'm revisiting the camp. And so I have, like, my tools that I've pulled on. I am, working with, certainly using my oils today. I've really appreciated being home for that, because all my oils are here. And I have a great cup inhale that I do every time I wash my hands. And I have my oils in my feet in the morning, and I have oils that I do at night, and I'm really appreciating them. And my movement practice, I know that I can move well when I go through my different practices. And I've called on my medical support, and I've called on my psychotherapist, and we've done our talk therapy. I'm calling on all those tools that I know support me. And I really appreciate them. I feel like I've gone on for a while. Deanna, are we still in line here?
We are 100% in line. Okay. We are fully aligned. I wanted to, that idea of sort of, I don't say falling back, but it's a knee-jerk, unconscious response to the level of newness, the level of change. And I think you exemplified it beautifully, saying, we bypass steps 1 through 3, and we're just going to jump right in here at holy crap. And when that happens, you're going right to the root of responses, and you're bypassing sort of all of your all that cognitive work. You're going right into the unconscious. And so your unconscious mind goes, oh, okay, I know what to do here. I remember this from 20 years ago. We just do the thing. And one of the shoulds that came up for me, and I saw it, and I was like, ugh, come on now, was I should be able to do this, and I should be able to fix all this and fix myself. I fixed myself before. Like, why am I here? Like, just, along with I should be able to be the mom and the teacher and the person and the business owner. I should be able to, it was fuck, I don't like being here again. And the anger around that was something I needed to process. It was a little longer than 2 minutes. And the camp started to rebuild, and I was like, and time is, I've lost on me at this point, but I recognize that so many of us, let's say we went through the the stages of almost like group development. So we were like, yes, we can do this. And then we stormed and you're like, no, I can't, I just need. And then, now we're sort of getting into the state of, I want maybe performing, like we're getting to that place where like, okay, I know where the pieces are. I know where I am. I've taken the hurdle, done the thing, forgiven myself. I recognize where I'm at with the grief, and I'm acknowledging when I get to different spaces on that, because obviously we're grieving different things at different times when they arise. And but that one, that idea as the perpetual fixer, that was my go-to behavior and identity back in the before times. Like I fix anything. I will fix things whether you've asked me to fix them or not. And I will make sure that you know that I know how to fix your problems, because I'm really good at that. And so it pained me in a way that I couldn't fix this, which, okay, fine. And then I had to fix me again. And then the whole idea of, I don't need fixing, I just need to heal and process and breathe and be, and, and having to get back to that place again. And I think that, I obviously I'm not talking to every woman in the world, but the number of women that I've been chatting with about this, is getting to that awareness piece. And what we talked about right at the beginning is that level of self-awareness to go, okay, I'm here. I'm not back where I started. I'm not Dion from the before times life. I'm still the evolved and educated and empowered me. I'm just facing a problem that I need to address. Oh, okay. And then, right, I have tools. All right, I have community. All right, yay, I can do these things. So, again, thank you for highlighting that we are not alone. And I jokingly said that I was going to rename my company to "You're Not Alone." We're all in this together. Like it just seems to be the one thing that I think is important to be reminded of often. So, what would you say? So you have the matrix, which I love, and I love my teacher friends and how their brains work, and how the organization, and I see things in math. Okay, good. So for all of you out there who get that, we know it's awesome. What was the one, right when you got to that place where you're like, oh, I know where I am, and I recognize what's happening here. What was your go-to? What was the first thing that you did in order to, I would maybe recalibrate, or I'm not sure what word you would use to say that you're sort of returning?
Absolutely. So I think my two foundational pieces are, it's get outside. I sometimes have to push myself. It's ridiculous with my mind. But is to get outside and when I'm there, I know like movement is good. Fresh air is good. Sunshine is good. And then I remember how many lessons from nature there are. And I get that sink into that deeper connection. I'm like, oh, right. Look at the trees. Oh, look at the flowers. They haven't blossomed yet. Oh, that's so, they should be by now. Oh, they're not. Oh, they're taking it slow. Wisdom. So it's giving myself that opportunity to connect in with the deepest wisdoms, and getting outside is where it's at. And my other go-to is get quiet. Just stop putting my own voice out, stop taking in others, and just sit into presence. Because there's a lot that is good right now. There's a lot of peace. There's a lot of stillness, a lot of quiet. And it gives us a chance to hear just what is the right now. What is this for us?
That is absolutely beautiful. And I feel like I've been connecting with those lessons, and the outside component, I don't know what it is. I not as much as I think logically, I'm like, just freaking go outside. Like, and we have a dog, and my husband's home, and he's been doing the majority of the walking. He's like, here, take this, just out you go. Like, and it's interesting. I've been enjoying the homeness. I already worked from home. but there was this little bit of almost like guilt, like I like only wearing 3 outfits and then washing them and then wearing them again and then washing them and then there's something about this sort of like, maybe that's me trying to find some unconscious behaviors to settle into. And I'm like, I'm enjoying some of that. And the outside, when I do go out, it's like, like I live very close to Little Lake Park and, officially, unofficially going into the park and reconnecting with that. And yeah, it's powerful, very powerful. So what would you say is, it's almost like a crash course in self-awareness, this experience that we've been going through. And then relearning a lot of the lessons that we maybe had a little bit more time to learn in the past. What would you say is the one element of this experience for yourself that you are most proud of?
Oh, I like that question. I like where my mind can travel, because I just went through this, all these things I really like about being here. I think if you ask me in another month, there's one that I'm working on that I haven't quite seen my way through. So in a month, I'll update you on that one. But one of my beauties is that time that we're spending with our daughter, and having a family meal every night that is reasonably planned and warm, and we sit at the dinner table. And one of my sort of indicators for a great meal, it can be whatever you put on the table, but it is that you sit after you finish eating and chat. It's something that, is certainly from my childhood that I so appreciated, in big family dinners and, nuclear family dinners. And, but we're investing in that every night. And there's not a lot, like, it's not that we're getting into deep conversations or anything like that, but every night we slow down, we let go of media, we really talk to each other because we're really in no rush. And so I've valued letting the other pieces go, because during the day we are pretty intense. There's 3 of us doing online schooling, and all the balance and motivations. And a 7-year-old doesn't really want to do her homework, but she'd love to do the book reading game site, like balancing all of that. But then we shut it all down. Like, computers go away, table gets cleared, dinner gets pulled together, and I really like cooking. So I'm so appreciating that we have chosen to make that a special time. We could turn on television. We could just, have crackers and cheese for dinner, and we could move on, but we haven't. We've chosen to come together and finish our day together like that. It's been a real treasure.
Absolutely. And a lot of similarities to that here. My husband normally works evenings, and he leaves in the middle of the afternoon. He's gone till the middle of the night. And so that idea of eating together is groundbreaking for us, groundbreaking. And because prior to that, with me and the kids and my mother-in-law lives here now, but before that it was, I'm coming home from work, I got 1,000 things to do. I will feed you and I'll probably be in the general vicinity of you. But I'm not sitting with you because, like, I'm gonna do this. Like, I'm in the kitchen, my laundry's in the kitchen, so that happens, and then the other things, and and just sort of trying to put everything in place, knowing that, not that I'm solo, but there's like a little checklist of things that you do, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I've been thinking a lot about the experience that we have been enjoying, and it's not lost on me that whole idea of eating dinner around the dinner table, and how so many elements of the universe have been screaming that at families for a long time now. But thinking about how we will maintain the value of that experience moving forward, no matter what our lives look like moving forward. So, I'm not sure what the restaurant industry is going to be looking like in the next couple of months. Obviously, it's probably last on the list. My husband's restaurant specifically seeing 800 people a night. It's not, I don't see anybody saying, absolutely, go gather as 800. So, we're thinking, not sure what that's going to look like, but what is it that we're gaining from that experience? And if we can't recreate it as a dinner, can we still get the value of that in other ways? And so that my brain has been going that way. Have you had any thoughts around that? I mean, I know for you guys, when you return, it's likely it'll just go and then back you go to the schedule exists as it exists.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
what will that look like
Mhm.
in the future, whenever that?
Yeah. Oh, you know what? It's a hard question for me to answer because I have these like very two distinct trains of thought and they don't recognize each other at all. And one is purely practical and one is not at all.
Right.
Yeah.
So probably somewhere in the middle is where
Yeah,
reality will
well,
land.
sure. Absolutely. And that middle develops as I look back and forth at go right back to the regular schedule and wasn't that a nice time, and talk about the memories, and maybe someday we'll be able to do that again. And that and becoming a homeschool mom, like,
Right.
are pretty dichotomous. There's somewhere in the middle there because I love my career as a teacher, and being a part of a community, and I love having Read in our community, and we have a wonderful school and things like that. But it's finding those pieces, and you know what, Dion, I'm the little nugget up here is to maybe make a bridge between the two. And what I'm looking at is pursuing some further education. My motto is learn, live, love, laugh, and share it with people. And I'm a consummate learner. I do love education. So when I think about doing my master's, I'm like, yeah, totally. But it's how do I fit it into that? How do we, our structure of regular life?
Right.
But no, I'm looking at more education. The piece on the elements of wellness that really strikes me is that professional support, where I've had the experience sharing essential oils with people, where I can bring that the wisdom. When I use essential oils, I feel like it's like a VIP pass to the earth's wisdom. Our plants have lived everything that's in our environment already, and they figured out how to thrive. And when we bring those plants into our practices, we get that wisdom. So sharing the oils has been a beautiful experience because I get to, in these situations, say to people, you could use an oil for that, and have those conversations. And sharing yoga and having loved the movement myself, and recognizing, it's time for me to share this with other people and developing my skills that way. Sharing to classes has been tremendous. Actually, one of my favorite ways to teach yoga is what I have started to share, not in this time, but is yoga to you. So I have gone to people's homes and where they've gathered a small group of their friends, and we've done a practice together. In my classes, you're always going to learn something about yoga. That's been the compliment that I have been appreciating, that people in my classes have noticed, is that there is something to learn there. It might be a physical, a mental, emotional, or spiritual dimension, but you always come out with a little nugget when you finish a class with me. So each of those pieces have been beautiful, in the move well, the reduce toxins in your life. But now I'm looking at professionally supporting people, and moving towards psychotherapy, and to bring that into my toolkit to say, we've been having these really great conversations. Give me 2 years. I'm going to go skill up so that when we finish this conversation, you have a practical, she knows, okay, that's like a real tool. It's not just, and I have a lot of intuition, and I do enjoy those conversations with people that I find I get into fairly often. So I think it's, that path that's already laid. But if someone, I'd like to be skilled and to offer that dimension or that element of wellness as well.
Fabulous. That is very, very exciting next chapter in your story.
Yeah.
I am looking forward to that. And I can appreciate the natural flow of that. So as a teacher, and I use that hat as a self-identity, not necessarily, you know, the job I'm holding in the world, but as a teacher, an educator, and a love of learning individual, with some other tools in the toolbox, but that love for connection and community and conversation, you know, there is a natural flow to, you know, looking at how to best expand on this, not because, you know, I don't need another piece of paper. It's just looking to sort of fortify the experience for yourself and for the individuals that you're serving. Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Fabulous. I love that. Thank you for sharing that little secret with us.
That's part of the secret to not making it a secret anymore.
Right. That is the secret. Say it out loud and put it out there.
Right.
So someone, you know, a couple of weeks, months, years down the road, weren't you doing that thing with the therapy?
Yeah. Call me on that.
Yeah. Done.
Yes.
Awesome. So I am so grateful for you, and I am so grateful that you took the time to come and share your insights and your wisdom and your story with us. And I am grateful to have you as part of my community, and I feel lucky to have this friendship. So thank you so much for that. I admire the way that you approach situations with like a calm order that allows for flexibility and growth. So it's, you know, there's this sort of saying that I came up with early in my awakening, that I look at myself as this sort of space where art meets science. And that is definitely how I see you. You're sort of, you live in that space. And so I'm interested in what you would share with a woman who is just sort of for the first time getting all that self-awareness on, right? So again, a lot of us are sort of having it imposed on us, like you need to figure out where you're at right now. And maybe not be for the first time, but really this is a new process. Where, what would you say, guide them with? I don't want to say advice, but you know, what would be something that they could focus their attention on that would help them in that process?
Absolutely. Well, and it is that matrix that that I think is worth not even understanding. It's not that you need to have it into action, but that awareness that we are 4 dimensions. That that, you know, a particular behavior we're looking at, where we're like, oh, I really want to bolster that. I want to be a rock star in that way, or that's really heavy for me. I want to break it up and let it go. Any of those behaviors can be in any of the dimensions: the body, mind, heart, and soul, and combination of 2. And we're whole beings. So when we have an imbalance in one of those spaces, it's going to affect the rest of us. I have one of my favorite reference books is called Your Body Speaks Your Mind. And it gives an interpretation of, you know, if I have an earache, what is it about our ears? What in a mental, emotional space do we hold frustration in our ear? And what are some of those connections that we might be able to release mentally or emotionally, and it will have an impact on our physicality. So that's one of my favorite books, understanding. Sorry, I'm going to take that away again. Oh, be aware that we are 4 dimensions, and as you experience it, then your understanding deepens. And then the 6 elements that you can. Sometimes I find the 6 elements as a way to focus on. I'm going to focus on moving well, and it's okay to let the rest go for now. I don't have to be a rock star at every level on the elements, and knowing that when I start to move well, oh neat, I rest better, and I am releasing the toxins, and you know that they're interplayed as well. So that's why I share that matrix with people who are looking to develop their self-awareness, is knowing what to be aware of. Because I remember when self-care sort of was growing as a concept. And, you know, we went through that stage where, you know, it's not just going to the spa and having bubble baths. There's a bit more to it. But what is there to it? And that's when I developed the matrix, because I started doing my own looking and observing, and I was like, wow, there's so much. What do I pick? I can't do it all. I'm a striver. And if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it well. I can't do that. So it was a way for me to pick something. And when I pick something, it means I can let the others lie for a while. Right. And reduce that stress on myself. So it's the matrix. And like, oh, enjoy it. I had this experience with a piece of artwork by a local artist, Stephanie Gogan. She has a flower shop on Highway 93. I did write it down. I just want to make sure I share hers, because her work is beautiful. She's Eastern Hemlock Flowers, on Highway 93, and she's an artist. So when you get her flowers, she's put them together like a piece of art. I just love her. But she had an exhibit at the Quest Gallery in Midland, I think in the fall or so. And like, I like art. I love color. I love design. I've gone to galleries all over the world, and all the, like, nice. So I've stood in the Sistine Chapel. Remarkable. And compliments to Stephanie. I stood in front of her art pieces in the fall, and piece of art, and where I was at, and all these pieces, and I was captivated. I was mesmerized. Like, I experienced her creation. It wasn't just a piece of art anymore. It was this being that she had created, and I had never experienced that before. That's what self-awareness is. Yes. It's looking at your reflection and doing this, like, what's that? That's cool. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I don't understand that, but I see the beauty and I want to know more. So I don't have a specific piece of advice to a woman to say, this is the priority. Yep. Because every one of us in each of our moments has different priorities. It's being aware of what to be aware of, and that you can let other things go. That's where we turn our shoulds into coulds.
I love that. You're not the only one getting that tattooed. That is awesome.
Okay, we should make a date. I'll celebrate the release.
I love it. Yeah. Anybody. Although Dave really, he's always talking about the tattoos that he wants, and we don't have any between the two of us, so this would be, I'd be the one.
We're very vintage.
Original packaging right here.
Loving it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. This has been an absolute gift, and I'm so grateful for our time together today, and for what you have shared and brought to the community, and I deeply appreciate it. And I will definitely, if you're willing to share, we can share that matrix with the community. And I want that book recommendation, and we're gonna plan the tattoo date as a group. And I think that's awesome.
Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. Join Dion again next week to learn more about what you can do to go from hot mess to awesomeness.